Shout out to Fowls, to Renu, to Yusufu, to DJ, the female DJ, Switch, who we've watched her live as well, and to every voice of this generation, Macaroni and everybody that we saw, everybody that came out to protest against bad leadership, against deaths. Let us not break this voice. It's a strong voice. We in the diasporas are supporting. We have Nigerian blood. We have Nigerian lineage. So that if we can control the narrative as well. Not control, so to speak, but we can contribute to the narrative. And I hope that going forward with all these solutions and many more that I know very intellectual people have as well, I hope that we can make progress going forward. I hope that the Nigerian dream will be true. I hope that in 2023 we never forget what happened to us in 2020. I hope that in 2023 I don't see the videos of those two girls in Akure who took 5,000 naira and came on Snapchat to show it. I hope that in Lagos they don't share 500 naira and people sell their votes. I hope that in 2023 nobody says to me that they want a 70-year-old person. I hope that in 2023 we're having a dialogue when we're asking, what do you want to do for the Nigerian people? Don't tell me about the roads. I hope that in 2023 you don't say to me that you're going to provide and without a structure on how you want to do that. I hope that in 2023 we don't go talking about things that don't matter, but important things. I hope that in the Nigerian dream and the deaths of our heroes past never go in vain. It's unfortunate, but we keep fighting.
So we are back live and direct, and this time we have Lakeside Hoons joining us on this show. So thank you all to all those of you who follows us over to the new live, and just the joys of internet connectivity given with the lockdown, everyone around, everyone at home, and the bandwidth just not allowing us for a smooth stream. But we are back. So a quick introduction from Lakeside, who is on camera right.
Thank you. My name is Louis Oluwagbemileke Sheon, aka Lakeside. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
And so back right over to you,
Thank you.
Ade. So it was actually a lot of the points you had was very powerful, and
Thank you.
it left me stoked. Actually, come to think of it, and there was some questions and some feedback that was directed over on the previous live chat, if I can get it back up. But while we do that, before we get hot and popping back on the section, we are just going to transition over for 3 minutes, a short commercial break, and we are going offline. And we are back live on air. And on our previous stream, there were some questions. And one that strikes me the most is one that I actually really want to address is, do you gentlemen believe that the protest really or truly achieved the purpose for which people marched out on the streets for? And why? What is your opinion based or founded on?
Okay, before I let Lakeside go ahead, I will just say a few things. First and foremost is that yes, in the affirmative, it achieved every of the goal that it was supposed to do. So what does that mean? Amnesty International is involved. There's been a lot of petition as well. Also, there's been a lot of very international news, CNN and Al Jazeera. and all the international bodies have been able to carry out investigation and report the proper events that happened. And so for me, knowing that the international community knows the impact of what has happened on the 20th of October 2020 is a win for every Nigerian youth. And so the impact of the protest as well is that, see, the Nigerian youths are very awake, and so the politicians know that, listen, the people who were sleeping prior to this time are fully awake, and they know the meaning of their rights, and everybody's yet, clamoring for the next level now. And so for me, I think that is a beginning of a new development. It's the beginning of change. And going forward, if we're able to then take in the spirit and the energy in which we've started this course, I think that we are going to definitely win. I'm just going to let Alexa say a few things about what he thinks about the protest as well.
Oh yeah, thanks, Ademola. You spoke my mind a little bit. I think the protest has had achieved some part of the purpose why NSAS has been going on, the marching and all. But um, the main thing to me is it really works in terms of awareness. The CNN, like you earlier said, the CNN, Al Jazeera, and other TV station worldwide, at least the awareness, as we've called the awareness that, okay, this is what is going on in the country, and this is what the people in power who we voted for to rule against or to rule over the country, and we're looking up to let them know what is going on at the moment, that there's no justice, there's nothing. I think I would say this is a era of new beginning for the youth, because now they don't have to tell anyone now. All eyes is open now, and everybody is aware. Even the unborn baby himself know what is going on now. That, okay, this is what is going on in Nigeria. Let me say, don't let me use the word Nigeria in purpose, Africa generally, because some part of Africa have fought their own revolution, and this is the time of Nigerian people in general, the youth and everybody that involved. The NSAS it has been happening, not now, it has been happening so long, many years ago, that nobody really pay attention to, based on fear and worries and panic. But now everybody have stood to their rights. Now everybody have gathered their muscles as a youth to face them. Everybody have made up their mind. If it's to kill, you can't just be killing us hiding in uniform, robbing us because you putting on uniform, making us a slave. We all youth. At least I'm happy, because I can say something is the purpose is not achieved yet, but at least we can see some achievement of the protest at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So this live stream have been brought to you by you punched on some very important points there, and I just have a question to present to you both, as Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora here in Ireland, specifically in Cork City. Cork City is placing themselves on the map, and there are small little movements that's making big changes. But what would you say, as youths, as adults, as teenagers, and the older people, the older generation who classify themselves as youths in the sense that they seek for change, they seek for a reform, they seek for justice? What can we do in our own little way, despite the coronavirus, despite the lockdown that we are facing currently at the moment, that has handicapped the possibilities of hitting the streets to protest? That which has been done, thankfully, to the numbers of people who showed up on numerous occasions. But what can we do now? What is the way forward for us here in the diaspora?
Want to go first?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Basically, I think there are some movement that has been made already. Like only here in Cork, we've not seen much of that based on we don't have more awareness, and we don't. I don't know how to put it, but in likes of Dublin, when you see the youth over there, the Nigerians over there, you can see the movement. Even the non-Nigerian, they join the forces, and the answer protest is going well there. But I would just say, as a person, as individual here in Cork City, I think nothing have been done yet. And the only move I've ever seen since when all these answers based on the killings in Tollgate, the only movement I've ever seen is David himself. And I've never seen anything so far like maybe Nigerians in Cork City, the youth in Cork City, they are in diaspora or everything. I've never seen anything so far. To me, I've never been, there's nothing motivative or anything that I can say has been done in Cork, because the only thing I've seen so far is David himself and some crew member, and that's it. I think there's much more to be done in Cork City.
All right, that's
Also,
fine. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to chip in what Lakeside have said. I'm aware that there's a coalition of young people in Cork that has a WhatsApp group. David AK Photos, if you just send him a DM or send a message to him, they'll be able to then add you to that. I also know that young people, in the last protest we had in the city, which was organized by David and his lovely wife as well, I'm very aware that even the Gardaí was involved, because obviously they saw our solidarity, they saw the way we came together, took permission, and everything was done properly. So we had protests, and then also we had a candlelight procession, and it was, people came out. And so I think that going forward, what we can do now that now that we can't really interact, you then need to understand that you have your social media space. And so since social media is what we have, and anyway, you don't have to pay to post, so you need to create awareness, constantly talk about these issues, constantly post about these issues. If you're a writer, write about the issues. If you have photo images, share photo images about these issues. Because going forward, it's a movement, it's a marathon. And you know what marathon is? Marathon is like handing over a baton from one runner to the other runner. So we in Cork, we're handing over the baton, where David has been able to then organize this as well. And so we're handing over this baton to those who would take over from us, because we're not going to stop as well. After this, we're still going to do much more. We did meet the mayor of Cork as well in Cork. And it was a very good time. He gave us an audience. We spoke to him, and the promise to speak to the United Nations on our behalf as well. And so we have a letter going forward. Yesterday as well, I read the letter that the Nigerians in Japan as well, even though there was a lockdown, they wrote a letter to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, talking about the issues as well. So you can write a letter, you can write a petition, you can have your WhatsApp group. Ensure that the spirit does not die. That's just the most important thing anyway.
So thank you both for your input. It's interesting to see a contrast between two people in terms of what's seen and what's perceived in terms of what's been done. So you're one person, Ade, who's aware of some of the things that has happened, whereas other people aren't quite carried along. Even though Cork, you can say, it's a small city, but it's not that small a city. But it's difficult to get out. How can we channel this energy through to other groups of people? Because when you start a movement, it starts from somewhere. It starts with one or two people, moves on to the third, and then word of mouth goes from one person to the other, and we're where we are now, but it's not enough. How can we, I know you mentioned social media, but sometimes social media has its limitations in terms of when you interact with people on social media, you tend to interact on similar cluster of friends.
Okay.
How can we push it further? I recall there was a publication by Echo Live which featured Angela, my wife, in the newspaper covering the story of NSARS following the protest that we did. But not again, this is another means to reach out to people.
Yes.
But not everyone reads the paper either. So what can we do? I know we're live on Instagram, we're broadcasting this message right now. This is another means to reach out to the people. But what more can we do? Because there are people out there who want to do something.
Okay.
I want to do something. You want to do something. You want to do something. That's why we're here today. But we have these limitations. How can we get around them? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I think I have to, at the top of my head, I have two suggestions. And this can work magic. Two things. First and foremost, African people like to go to church. And they like to go to mosques.
Amen.
So we like to pray in the Holy Ghost. Anyway, so I think that we can reach out to pastors, because whether or not they need to understand their role, even though we're in Europe, great, wonderful, but they need to understand the role they have to play in the new Nigeria that we need to birth. So what that means is that we will reach out to the imams, we need to reach out to the pastors. We're not asking them to preach about it. We're just saying, give us access to the young people in your church. Give us access to the middle age in your church, and then we can take it up from there. That's one. The other one would be, for me, aside from reaching out to church and all of that, I also think that UCC as well have, Nigerians like to do masters, even though we don't know why we're doing it. We just like to go to, we just like to do a degree. So we can reach out to the student community and say, listen, where's the black community? Who are the black community? In the protest we did, I learned that 2 or 3 students were there, and I was impressed, because I mean, they came to study, but they came for the protest as well. So I think that we can reach out to the schools as well. And finally, I would just say, if you see a black person who you maybe on the bus, you're going out, and you just have a quick conversation. Some of you like to toast women. But it's okay if you then have a conversation with them and say, I'm thinking maybe you would like to just join the conversation. It's a community, it's a family. And then these 3 suggestions, I think, apart from social media, will fly and it will work anyway.
That was wonderful. That's a whole new direction. And I look forward to hear what
Ademola said much things, and I think that's another means to pass the message across. And at the moment now, as the COVID-19, wherever, most of churches, they are locked down now. And I think the only way this can be possible is, like you earlier said, that if we can contact the church and maybe the pastors, the imam, to give us access to the youth, maybe the people that go on Zoom teaching, they can include maybe after the service, or their every Sunday announcement, they can announce you to call awareness, and even in text messages, like they text everybody for the service on Sundays. If they can be including it, I think that will go a long way as well.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So that was a great discussion, and the points on the church, as much as that humored me, there's a lot of truth behind it, because we are spiritual. We as Nigerians, specifically in African, we carry the gospel with all our mind, all our heart, and that actually brings out another point that struck me on social media earlier on today. This is the point on taxes versus tithing. Okay. Now, this is not a religious discussion, but more a view on the mindset of the people. So here in Ireland, we obviously pay tax.
You don't have a choice.
In the UK, you pay the tax. You pay your taxes. Yeah. In America, you file your taxes.
Exactly.
Every functional communities, every functional countries, every functional, institution and organization pays some sort of contribution towards, the taxation, which is used by good governments to manage the country. But we in Nigeria, we don't quite have the same mentality, willingly or unwillingly, in terms of taxation, but we freely pay tithes. Is there a need, a shift, not an end to tithing, but is there a need of an awareness for the people to understand that we need good governance, but for this good governance, we need funds. There are funds that have been, let's not get into that discussion, but our corrupt leaders have made those funds theirs and, they're siphoned it into other countries and, money laundering, but that's a discussion for another day. But if we're going to create this new government, we need funds. So along the ends of, having accountability for yourself, and as much as we're ending all these SARS, and like I said before, SARS is in every institution in Nigeria, from the government to the police to the army, who denied being present even though they were videoed, and that's another discussion. But do we need to look at taxation?
When you mean taxation, do you mean Nigerians in diaspora sending money home to fund the movement?
No. Okay. In terms of the responsibilities of the citizens themselves to contribute to taxes. I know in terms of Lagos states, there are Lagos tax, and say from the moment you open your shop to even just having your shops open, there are taxations.
So I would say this: I am aware that Nigerians don't have a problem with paying tax. I'm very sure. The problem we have is that when you then pay this tax, they do not convert it into use, and so that discourages Nigerians from paying tax. Quote me anyway. In Magodo currently, they have about 18 to 20 hours constant light, and the reason is because they have a concession with PHCN saying we are going to pay this amount of money if we had this so amount of light, electricity, which they do, and some other parts of Nigeria as well. So I've noticed that it's not we are willing to. It's just that the money is not being used in the way that we want it to be used. So there's no infrastructure, there's no good education. So if we then ask the people to pay more tax, the question is, are we then willing to subject the public officials to more accountability? So, which is why Nigerians will always be willing to pay tax. But the issue is, would there be accountability on the part of the public officials? Say, for instance, the COVID funds that came in. Akpabio sat down, I wouldn't call him a senator because he's a thief, sat down and analyzed how 86 billion was spent in less than 5 months. In less than 5 months, Peter O'Day, whatever his name is, was called to explain himself, and we saw the Nollywood scene where he tried to, convulse. And the House of Reps said, you know what, there's no need to invite this person again. So there's been a lot of money, and asking the poor citizens who live barely below $1 an hour and $1 a day to then bring more money, it's like ridiculous because there's a lot of finance available. The senator collects about 29 million every month. So you get what I mean? So it's good, it makes sense. So the only advice I would give would be that obviously you can see the situation with Feminist School that was able to raise 80 million. So you can see that young people are creating resources for the things that we can do ourselves. And so, that's just what I'm going to say about that anyway.
And your thought, Lakeside?
Anyway, to me, I would just say the way it has been in my mind, and based on this answers and many things that has come together to come in one name, answers. To me, like you said, paying this tax is not a problem. Everybody will pay the tax. But what's the purpose of we paying the tax and we don't see the purpose of paying this tax? We don't have good road, no good school, no even no quality educations and everything. But to me, I just believe this movement is going to solve everything. It's more than just SARS alone. Not about the SARS like Sheon Kuti said, and which I'm 100% in support with him. He said, let them go and fight for themselves. These SARS people, we just make it a title that SARS, but it's more than SARS. Like what you ask and question you ask now, everything come together under this name SARS. our tax, this is the time we want to know, okay, if we have to pay you tax as a student, as a worker, as an individual, if with any tax we pay, this is the time we want to see, okay, if we pay you tax, we want to see the purpose of the tax we pay. And that's why this NSAS is so important, and I call it a beginning, a new beginning of new era, a revolution time that is going to point and figure out everything everybody might have to ask the people that have voice, or you don't have voice. This is the time that to pieces. We want a new leader. We want a new president. Buhari must go. You know, we want to break everything to pieces. So this question, even who does not have a voice to ask, at least we want to see, in general, we want to see a new beginning of everything. We want to know where this tax is going. If I have to pay tax, I would love in person to ask you, if I'm to pay tax, tell me one reason why I have to pay tax. So I think this NSAS is going to break everything to pieces, and we're going to have a new beginning about that.
And it's funny that you mentioned a new beginning, because this is the beginning of my question, no pun intended. So we need a new beginning for accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the Nigerian government are not used to being questioned.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are questioned, they're used to being silenced.
Mm-hmm.
But now the people refuse to be silenced. The people refuse to be intimidated, and they say, we want what we want, and we will not rest until we get what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of holding these people accountable, like forcing and keep questioning, for instance, the likes of Sanwo-Olu, who initially denounced, the magnitude of what happened at the Lekki tollgate, to now saying that there was debt and saying that there was no debt, and it's like they can't make up their minds, and like we said previously, the army, again, not used to taking accountability, but then they were forced to take accountability. And then someone said to me, why is it that our governments will lie to us but tell the truth to the outsiders? Because on CNN, Sanwo-Olu was questioned, and he was faced with a very, very straightforward question, which he tried to dodge, and he was brought right back to the question again, and he was forced to answer. This was on international television. What must we do in terms of accountability? How can we attain this? Because we are the Sorosoke generation. We are the pressing phone generation. We can transfer information a lot quicker than our parents were capable of. And then they're now looking at the social media bill, in terms of limiting what people can say or can't say, and using that as another tactic. But I think we'll be going from NSAS to social media, and introduce accountability. What is the direction we can go in terms of accountability? Because we can see already that international pressure is obviously bringing out answers, but the people need answers. A lot of answers are still unanswered. So how can we still get our answers now? And on the back of this, we will wrap up.
Okay. I think they said in the Bible they said the violence taketh it by force. See, this is the time of violence now. Take it or leave it. Like in personal, I feel like even being in that struggle back there in Nigeria, I prefer to go there and do this movement once and for all. Now it's time of violence that we're gonna take everything by force, because in strength, in power, in strategies, those people, they are just old cargo, old fool. Like they said, they don't like to be questioned. They knows how to silence many youths in so many ways, in political ways. But this time around, to me in person, the time of violence that we have, like what is going on now. We're ready to face them one-on-one and question them. You can see the DPO, This is the people that they believe that the King Solomon, nobody can get to them. You can see how they mess them up. You can even see the governor. You can see the way they are running up and down, because you see, they know these people, their eyes is open now, and they're ready to take what belongs to them. And we're not going to relent. So we're taking everything back by violence. So that's what I'll say.
All right, I'm just going to chip in something, and just a point of correction. I'm sure that Lekki doesn't mean to carry guns because he keeps talking about violence, and nobody wants to go that route.
No.
It's not an interesting route. Reason being that war is not something anybody desires at the moment. Libya used to be a great country. I was a big fan of Gaddafi, but as you can see today, Libya is buried. It's not united, so we don't want to carry arms. But I get what he's saying. So I'm just going to chip a few things. As you can see, accountability, like David is asking the question, is very important. When protesters went back and forth and asked for the things that we wanted, as you can see, the governor of Lagos has set up a judicial panel, and some other state as well that has been made known to me. And as you can see, young people today came together and we had a Zoom meeting, and we outran the limit of the meeting. We are asking questions, we are creating committees, we are creating synergies. And what that means is that with the united voice, we can then demand what we want from these people. Because listen, you've voted them there. And so what it means is that we are then able to, apart from that as well, as you can see, when Desmond Ellion received premium dragging on Twitter, premium dragging everywhere, he came out and started, acted the script and said he was crying. He apologized, because you see, you can't just wake up and then think that you are just going to toss people around, make statements that don't add up, and then think we're going to let you go. So we have social media, it's our great, and then we're going to then drag you premiumly. And then, so what I would just say is, we'll keep demanding accountability, we'll keep demanding that those who are supposed to step down, those who are supposed to be compensated, those who don't even deserve the office. See, somebody like Desmond, she wait for me in 2023. I'm not lying to you. Like 2023, Desmond, that woman who shared palliatives on her birthday, Tinubu, people that we know their voices during the deaths of people, who trivialized the deaths of people. We are waiting for you in 2023, actually. Except, see, these Nigerian people that I see now, they're not sleeping. And so we're waiting, we're going to drag them. We're going to ensure that they do not win any public office, because they don't have the people at heart. Thank you so much for having us, and we appreciate your time anyway.
And that concludes our discussion today. It's been a solid hour. We've had to move on to a second stream. Thank you, YouTube, for cutting us off. But the movement shall move on, no matter what is in our way. If we can't get over it, we'll go around it. And until next time, this video is brought to you by David, aka PhotoxMatters.com.